Hello everyone, it's Ms. Zeenat. Today we are going to study something about a topic which we all know. Okay, if you see this and this, they all are same but they are still different. So today we are going to study about rocks and its types. As we all know, rocks are natural solid materials found on the earth. Okay, now rocks can be classified into three types depending on a few conditions. The first type of rock is igneous rock. Now, when a volcano erupts, okay, the magma comes out, right? So, there are two things that can happen now. The magma either cools underground, the magma cools underground, or the magma comes out, which is now called lava, and it cools out on top of the earth's surface. In both these cases, let's see what happens. So when the magma cools underground, it takes a lot of time. So because it takes a lot of time, the crystals, the minerals inside, they crystallize. So that's why we find rocks that have some crystals in it, a pattern. Okay. Now, when the lava comes out, it does not have enough time to cool down. It cools quickly. So there is no time to make crystals. So that's why we find few rocks that do not have crystals. But they both are igneous rock because they both are formed from the same magma. So because they are formed from the same magma, they are called igneous rock. If the magma cools underground, it takes a lot of time and therefore there is crystals. We can see the crystals inside the rock. If the magma comes out, which we now call lava, there is no time to form crystals because it cools down very quickly, and also you will find air bubbles because the lava is coming out, and now when it forms rock, it also has air bubbles. That's why. Example is a pumice. So these are the types of igneous rock. Understandable till here? Now, let's move on to the second type of rock. Sedimentary. Now, these igneous rocks, they break down over a period of time. So when they break down, they are broken down into pieces which we now call sediments. The pieces of igneous rocks are nothing but sediments. Now what happens? These sediments, they are broken down, so they are tiny. They are carried away by wind and water. They are carried away by wind and water and deposited to a new place. The sediments are carried away by wind and water and deposited to a new place. Over the period of time, these sediments start forming layers. These sediments start forming layers of sediments. So this final layer, this final procedure, when it ends, it gives us something called sedimentary rocks. So what are sedimentary rocks? Nothing but formed sediments. What are sediments? Pieces of igneous rocks. Now, there are a few key terms that you should know. First of all, broken pieces, tiny pieces of igneous rocks are called sediments. Second, the process where this breaking down happens is called weathering. The process of breaking down of rock into tiny pieces is called weathering. I also told you the pieces are tiny, so they get carried away. The process of getting it carried away by wind and water is called erosion. Don't worry, I'll summarize this again. And finally, this deposition of layer by layer is called sedimentation. Let's repeat what we have studied till now, all the processes. First of all, igneous rock breaks down into tiny pieces called sediments. So what are sediments? Tiny broken down pieces of igneous rock. Second definition, weathering. What is weathering? This process of breaking down of a big rock into tiny pieces is called weathering. Third definition, erosion. What is erosion? The process of getting it carried by wind and water and depositing it to a new place is called erosion. Now, sediments settling to a new place is called erosion. Now, when they are settling up layer by layer and when it is finished, they form sedimentary rock. So, what is sedimentation? The process of sediments forming layers to form sedimentary rock. I hope we are clear. Now, these sediments that are deposited to a new place, they are deposited under the water, layer by layer. So, what happens when these layers are forming? Sometimes there are dead plants and animals that get trapped in each layer of sedimentary rock. These dead plants and animals are eventually called fossils. So, question, where can we find fossil? Can we find fossils in igneous rocks? No. We can only find fossils in sedimentary rocks. What are fossils? Dead plants and animals over a period of time. Okay, a lot of time has passed. Now, because the dead plants and animals are trapped between layers, a lot of time passes, then it becomes fossil. So only sedimentary rocks will have fossils. And one example of sedimentary rock is sandstone. Example of igneous rock was pumice. Example of sedimentary rock is sandstone, limestone. Okay. Now, the third type of rock is metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rock is not a new type of rock. What happens when there is lot of heat and pressure, these rocks, sedimentary rocks, they change into something different. So that's why we call this metamorphic rock, and the change is called metamorphism. If you remember, you might have studied a word called metamorphosis. This is similar. Okay, metamorphism, a change that creates sedimentary rock into metamorphic rock under high heat and pressure. That is important. So now this metamorphic rock can also have layers because there is a lot of pressure. The rock can turn their shape, they can make themselves as wavy. So these are metamorphic rock. An example of metamorphic rock is marble. Now, to sum this up, there are three types of rock: igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic. The first is igneous, the rock which is found on the earth's surface because of magma. Magma, two ways: if the magma cools inside underground, it forms crystals. If the magma comes out, which is now called lava, it does not form crystals because it cools very quickly, but it will have air bubbles. Example, pumice. Igneous rock broken down becomes sediment. Sediments travel with wind and water, deposit layer by layer, called sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks undergo high heat and pressure to form metamorphic rocks. Am I clear till here? Now, to sum this up, we are going to study rock cycle. So, we start with igneous rocks. Igneous rock, due to weathering, what is weathering? Breaking down of pieces. Igneous rock, because of weathering and erosion become sedimentary rocks. Now, sedimentary rock, when given high temperature and pressure, it takes a lot of years to form metamorphic rocks. Now you will say, how is this a cycle? It's not complete. So let's complete this cycle. Metamorphic rock, when they undergo more higher temperature and pressure, they melt. And we all know what this makes. Now this makes something called magma, which is the starting for igneous rock, and hence this cycle is complete. Igneous rock, broken, erosion, sedimentary. Sedimentary, high temperature and pressure, metamorphic. Metamorphic, more higher temperature, melts to become magma, and then magma cools down to form igneous rock. I hope the chapter is clear. I will link down in the description box a link for the quiz. You can take the quiz and see how much you have learned so far. If you also want to solve question and answers, I'll be attaching a link for the worksheet. Thank you. See you next time.